Just for a moment, I'd like you to picture your favorite restaurant, coffee shop, yoga studio, or other business that you had in the community that you grew up in, or the one that you live in now. Well, what if that business closed because the owner wanted to retire and couldn't find anyone suitable to take it over? Well, that's exactly what happened to me in my hometown of Oregon, Wisconsin, when not only my favorite restaurant closed, but pretty much the entire community's favorite restaurant closed. Maria's Pizza was one of those special places where the Oregon Straw Hat Players community theater group celebrated their opening nights, where my kids' sports teams celebrated their wins and losses, where friends and families gathered for special occasions or just a Sunday night dinner. But now the building sits lifeless and empty. Even in the closer large city of Madison, Wisconsin, businesses are closing for that very same reason, that the owner wants to retire and can't find anyone suitable to take it over. Now you might be thinking, this is just something that happens, right? Businesses close, new ones come in. It's just a business cycle. But I want to illuminate you to a trend that is not only happening in Oregon and Madison, Wisconsin, but is happening all across our country. Businesses are closing for that very same reason. So what is behind this trend? Well, according to the American Association of Retired Persons, 10,000 people are turning 65 every day and nearing retirement, and that will go on through 2030. And the U.S. Census states that 2/3 of those small businesses are owned by those baby boomers who are nearing retirement. And in fact, 12 million businesses will change hands in the next 10 to 15 years. And now, we even have another factor affecting our small businesses, COVID-19. In May of 2020, economists state that 100,000 businesses have already closed. And the National Restaurant Association states that 3% of restaurants have closed. As the pandemic continues to spread and businesses are forced to keep their customers to a minimum, this is bound to increase. Many communities are already struggling. They have empty spaces and no one to fill them. And yet, the mayor of North Sacramento said it so powerfully. He said, entrepreneurs are the fabric of life in our community, and they drive the health of our community. If we don't do anything different, our Main Street will turn into a ghost town, and we will have to go elsewhere for even our basic needs. Communities need a solution to change this trend. They need entrepreneurs to fill these spaces. At the very same time this is happening in our communities, our public school system is prepping our kids for standardized tests and college entrance. This leads to many disengaged students who are not learning real-life skills and who are not applying their learning to the real world. They have no idea that entrepreneurship is indeed a viable career option and that they could solve the problem that their communities are facing. And now with COVID-19, there is even less student engagement with limited teacher interaction hours and our reliance on kids and their parents to continue their learning. So what ultimately happens? They study for the tests, they go off to college, and they seek something better. But I want you to know there is hope. I want you to meet Eli. I met Eli when he was 13 years old, and he attended a youth entrepreneur camp that I ran at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. He had the business idea for educational travel that he had done with his family and learned so much, but knew other families couldn't afford it. The name he came up with was Travel to Learn. After camp, he contacted me and wanted to discuss his business. So he came into the conference room with his briefcase and his Padfolio, and he took notes on what we talked about. He then went and contacted the Foundation for Madison Public Schools, a foundation that is set up for teachers and schools to put their funding needs and people can donate to. Eli was the youngest person to get his business listed on that website. So then he went and started raising funds for Travel to Learn. I propose that if we start teaching and mentoring young entrepreneurs, we can empower the kids in our community to create the succession plan we need to keep our communities from becoming ghost towns. Teaching entrepreneurship is not only about starting and running a business, it's about creating the mindset to look for opportunities to solve the problems we face today. It's about empowering our youth to utilize their strengths and talents to make a difference in this world. It's about teaching them that entrepreneurship is indeed a viable career option and that they have the power to solve the economic crisis their communities are facing. Creating youth entrepreneurship programs in a community gives us a vehicle to connect the local entrepreneurs to kids and their family. It gives them the chance to pass down their knowledge and leave a legacy of the businesses they worked so hard to build. The Small Business Administration states that 50% of businesses close within the first 5 years. The main reasons they state are lack of market need, lack of differentiation of that business, lack of capital or cash, and poor marketing skills. So if we can teach those 4 things in addition to business basics and the entrepreneurial mindset and allow kids to start businesses at a young age, they will increase their chance of success. And the United Nations states that we need to provide youth with programs to keep them from getting bored, and that these programs need to happen before lifelong patterns set in. So why not use entrepreneurship as one of these programs? There are 2 additional benefits to entrepreneurship that I feel are worth mentioning. The first one is from the Lemonade Day report, and they state for every 1% increase in entrepreneurship in a state, there is a 2% decline in the poverty rate. And the second is from a study from Baylor and Louisiana State University. They found that as the number of entrepreneurs in a community increases, so does the health, not only in that community, but in the surrounding communities. And that entrepreneurs have a significantly lower incidence of physical and mental illness, they visit the hospital less often, and they have higher life satisfaction. So what can we do to help? Well, here are 3 things we could start with. You could become a mentor or role model for entrepreneurs in your community. You could introduce an existing program, or you could start a new program. Junior Achievement states that 20% of kids who are mentored go in the same career field as their mentor. So in theory, if we had more entrepreneurs become mentors, we could increase the number of entrepreneurs in that community. Becoming an entrepreneur is quite simple. You could contact your local school, after-school club, or youth organizations in your community and see what aspiring young entrepreneurs they have that need assistance. The second would be to bring an existing program to your community. The 3 that I'm aware of and have been involved in are Lemonade Day, Acton Children's Business Fair, and Junior Achievement. These already have prescribed programs and only need a local coordinator and a few volunteers to put it into action. The third would be to create your own youth entrepreneur program or summer camp in your community. The entrepreneurs that I've worked with have been so eager and willing to help young aspiring entrepreneurs. They've come in as guest speakers and even taught part of the content that they have an expertise in. If you gathered a group of those along with your chamber or your economic development corp, you could bring your own program together. Or you could partner with an organization that already has a curriculum, such as YE Academy, Venture Lab, or eSeedling. Each of these programs would not only teach kids how to start and run a business, but it would teach them that mindset that they need to look for opportunities and solve the problems that we face today. So I want to go back to Eli's story. It didn't stop with him starting Travel to Learn. This past year, Travel to Learn donated $12,000 to CEOs of Tomorrow, another nonprofit that works with young entrepreneurs. It was for their educational trip to Botswana. The project matched local high school age entrepreneurs with the same age group in Botswana so they could learn from each other. As Eli goes off to college this fall, think of not only the learning he has had on his own life and the impact that he's had on his own life, but the life of so many others at such a young age. It's really amazing when you can see what entrepreneurship does to empower our youth. I recently read a quote from the former CEO of the Girl Scouts that really stuck with me. She stated, "Children are 25% of the population, but 100% of our future." So I leave you with this final thought. Remember that favorite restaurant, coffee shop, yoga studio, or other business that you pictured at the beginning? What if we don't create opportunities for kids to learn about business and entrepreneurship? Will our communities be turned into ghost towns? Or will we choose to mentor or bring a youth entrepreneurship program to our communities to empower our youth to create the succession plan we need to keep our communities thriving into the future? Thank you.